Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the Action Channel. So if you love action movies, martial arts, fitness, bodybuilding, or just a ton of action movies, then you came to the right place. And if you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe to the channel. Alright, let's get into it. So today, let's take a look at one of Sylvester Stallone's upcoming movies, which is the sequel to the 1993 smash hit Cliffhanger. That's right, Sylvester Stallone is back as Gabe Walker in Cliffhanger 2. Now, aside from Rocky and maybe First Blood, I would say Cliffhanger is definitely one of Sylvester Stallone's best action movies of all times. The director Renny Harlin had previously directed Die Hard 2 with Bruce Willis, so this was the perfect vehicle for his next, even bigger action film. And of course, Stallone was in top shape. We all remember some of the great scenes from the film. At the time, it was definitely something new and exciting. An old-fashioned story, but with modern-day technology. Now, for you guys that don't remember, John Lithgow played the main bad guy, and what a bad guy he was. In the film, him and his scumbag friends steals $100 million. Unfortunately, they lose it in the Rocky Mountains. And then they're forcing Stallone and his friend Hal, played by Michael Rooker, to find the money for them. The bad guys need their expertise since they're both mountaineers and know the area where the money was lost. Now, Gabe Walker manages to escape, and he'll do whatever it takes to save his friend and give John Lithgow a serious headache, and then all hell breaks loose. Alright, so fast forward to the present. Where is Gabriel Walker all these years later? And in other words, what is Cliffhanger 2 all about? Let's take a look. Okay, so here's what we know about the movie and the plot so far. Apparently the sequel will take place in the Swiss Alps, and we see Walker return to mountaineering, and it will also involve his daughter that also works as a mountaineer. And of course they're getting involved in something big, meaning something bad. Apparently Walker's daughter is being kidnapped by some very bad dudes, and now it's his job to rescue her. Okay, so here's how IMDb describes it. Gabe Walker returns to the mountains to lead a high-stakes rescue mission. When a new threat emerges in the rugged peaks, Gabe and a team of skilled climbers must confront treacherous terrain and dangerous adversaries to save lives and prevent a looming catastrophe. The action-packed sequel delivers intense mountain climbing thrills and edge-of-your-seat suspense. The director of the film is Jean-Francois Richet, and the film has been described as the next evolution of Cliffhanger. Okay, so the movie is in pre-production, and in regards to the cast, the only person that's attached to the project so far is Sylvester Stallone, which of course is the most important piece of the film. So far, apparently they haven't cast his daughter, so I guess anyone that looks slightly Italian maybe would be suitable. Now, in regards to other returning cast members from the original, it's unclear if Michael Rooker, that played Hal, will reprise his role, or Janine Turner, that played Stallone's girlfriend in the first one, is returning as well. However, it's very possible that she will, since apparently Gabe Walker has a daughter in this film, and she's obviously a grown-up, and I'm guessing she'll be around 25-30 years of age, which means he probably had his daughter with his girlfriend that was played by Janine Turner. Now, unfortunately, we don't know who the main bad guy would be, but obviously it would have to be a serious heavyweight of a certain caliber, since John Lithgow in the first one was absolutely badass. So whoever gets to play the villain, it will be some serious shoes to fill. Now, in 2019, it seemed like they were going to do a Cliffhanger 2. But apparently this was a female version of it, which we saw a lot of at that point with Ocean's 8 and Ghostbusters all of a sudden got a remake with a bunch of chicks. From what I understand, most of these action chick flicks were not big hits at all, and they really weren't that good. So why did they do it? Well, you know, it's Hollywood these days. Now personally, I have nothing against women in action films if they're right for the part. I mean, who can forget Kill Bill? They had several really great badass chicks in that film. And of course, who can forget my childhood heroes like Sigourney Weaver and Linda Hamilton, two of the baddest chicks that ever lived. So it's not that women don't work in action films, but they have to play the right parts and it has to be the right script. And speaking of a heroic lady in Cliffhanger, Janine Turner did a great job in the first one. She didn't try to get in the way and overshadow Stallone, and in the film her character obviously didn't want to be there either, but she did what she had to do. And yes, she did a lot of physical work, but it made sense to the character since her job was also climbing mountains just like Stallone. And it all made sense for the storyline. So in my mind, her character definitely worked in this film. Alright, so Sylvester Stallone returning in Cliffhanger 2, is that even possible? I mean, is it believable that a man his age is still a mountaineer? I don't know, so far I have my reservations. But it's still pretty early on, so let's hope for the best though. Now, obviously, Stallone is still very physical and he does a lot of his own stunts. I don't think any other actor in history has been able to do what he's doing at his age. And of course, there's something called modern day technology, CGI, etc., which they didn't really use that much of in the first one. They used a little bit, but not that much. What I would hate to see in this film is to see too much CG used, to the point where it looks so fake. All it takes is one scene in a film to make the whole damn thing look bad. Which is why I'm still a big fan of 80s, 90s action films, where many times they had to do the real thing. Maybe it didn't look as big and impressive as what you see today, but in many ways it was much more realistic, and it did not F up the film, unlike what you see so often today. Now here's why I'm also a little worried about Stallone playing this role at his age. Stallone has many times in his career described two of the most physically demanding films in his career to be Rambo 3 when he was running around in the desert and Cliffhanger in the mountains. The movie had a 1993 release, but most of it was shot in the Italian Alps in '92, and at the time Sylvester Stallone was only 46 years old and still in tip-top shape. In fact, I would say he was probably more muscular than ever. I think he was even bigger than in most of the Rambo movies. And not only that, but he had also trained in climbing mountains, which is a whole different workout. It was a big challenge for the man because he was actually afraid of heights, believe it or not. Yeah, personally I thought Rambo always had no fear, but I guess that wasn't the case. Now this is not the first time that Stallone will have to convince the studios and the world that he's not too old to play certain action parts. I mean, remember Rocky Balboa? The movie came out almost 20 years ago, and back then they said it wasn't believable for a man to return to the ring in his late 50s. And back then the word was, well, 60 years old for a fighter is just way too old, so that will never work and the movie will fail. A couple of years later when he did Rambo, an old soldier in the jungle does not work. And what happened? Both Rocky Balboa that came out in 2006 and Rambo that came out in 2008 were awesome movies. And after the release of the films, suddenly nobody said that Stallone was too old to play these parts. It was definitely a comeback for Stallone, and a couple of years later, he wrote, directed and starred in The Expendables. And the rest is action movie history. Now, Cliffhanger in '93 was also a comeback for Stallone. Prior to that, he had not had a hit since Tango and Cash 4 years earlier. However, I still think it's fair to ask the question, is Stallone too old to play this role in Cliffhanger 2? Now, I could see it would be very believable if Stallone or Gabe Walker played this older, wiser, more mentoring character. Kind of like their boss in the first one, Frank, that ended up taking a bullet or two. And I guess you could say after he bought it, there was a job position vacant. So perhaps Sly or Gabe would have taken over. That actually would have made sense in a way. And he was still working in the Rocky Mountains Rescue Department. But I guess that's not the case with the sequel here. So from a more realistic and age-appropriate perspective, it may not make sense to have someone like Sly climbing mountains and killing bad guys. Then again, this is a Stallone movie, and we, the crazy fans, we want to see Sly having his ass kicked and to get up and whoop some butt. So to see Stallone sit in an office, calling people over the radio, yeah, it doesn't sound that interesting, does it? Now I have to admit, personally, I'm very excited about this film. And of course I have to check it out regardless if it's good or bad. I definitely keep my fingers crossed. Anyway, fellas, thanks for checking in. I just want to keep you up to date with all the latest from the world of action movies and entertainment. And in this little video, I thought we should focus on Cliffhanger 2. I'll definitely keep you guys posted when I know more about what's going on with the film. Until then, thanks for checking in. I'll see you next time. And please, as always, like and subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.